Well, thanks for that warm welcome. And let me start by saying my very simple, yet hopefully powerful thank you. I want to thank you because, simply put, you commit to your community, and because of you, your community thrives. You change lives, and not everyone does this. The stats tell us that only about a quarter of Canadians make a meaningful financial contribution. So you are a very select few. And our vulnerable citizens and the vitality of our communities depend on your generosity. But it doesn't stop there. I believe that you have also decided very actively and chosen the kind of Canada that you want to live in. And you've also chosen the kind of community that you want to live in and that you want to continue to build. And you've also chosen to build that community in partnership with the United Way. So again, let me say thank you. And I also want to say that you are in good company as leadership donors. There are very few of you, as I mentioned. Only a quarter of the population give a donation of $200 or more and claim this on their tax return. But even fewer give more than that. And you may be few, that is true, but the impact that you have is extraordinary and significant. This 25% of the population gave over $8 billion in Canada in 2011. $8 billion. That's very few of you making a very big imprint. And giving to the United Way accounts for about 5% of that total. So that means that through you, the United Way Centraides across the country invest over $500 million in Canadian communities every year. So $500 million our United Way individual donors give every year. So people like you across the country give with and through the United Way to change your communities. And what you might not realize is that the donor base is actually shrinking in Canada. So that is that the number of donors who give, like you, is shrinking. And that might not be a surprise to you when you consider our social and financial situation in our country and beyond our borders. But those of us who give more are indeed also, there are not more of us giving, but we are giving more. In fact, it's the only growth segment of donors in the country are those that we term, and you may not term yourself this, but that we term high net worth givers, the only growth segment in the country. So what you do is very important. And I realize that this is a choice that you make. And I don't take that very lightly. I take that very seriously because I know that you have many choices. And you're choosing to build up your community, and you are choosing to do that with us. So we take you very seriously because you take your own philanthropy so seriously. You take your community seriously, and because of that, we invest your dollars very wisely at the United Way. So in my academic life, before arriving in this role, I was both a fundraiser working with donors outside of the United Way in the university context, and working with donors who gave hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars, and millions of dollars. And I had a distinct pleasure of working with them for about 20 years of my career. And then I was also researching as an academic. And what I thought that I might do today is talk to you a little bit about the research that I did working with this select group of donors that amongst yourselves you may find this very interesting. And I asked these donors why they did what they did. Why do you give to your community so deeply? Well, there were a number of prominent reasons that were given to me. And the first was wealth, that people actually had the means to do so. And so they felt very comfortable and very good about sharing their means. And they wanted to give back. They had made their financial contribution for their family within their community, and then they wanted to look outward to their community and say, I can share with you, I can share with others. And so having the wealth and the means to do so and the success in their lives was certainly figured very prominently. Secondly, community engagement. People wanted to become personally involved in the case and the cause that they support. And I'd like to think that the United Way is inextricably linked with that opportunity to engage with your community. And I think that that's why we're increasingly successful in working with our donors. Self-actualization, now that's a really big term, but fundamentally it means you like to build relationships. And the donors that I know really like to build relationships with people within their community. They like people, and they like learning from others, and they like to connect. And that's part of who we become over time. And that's what donors told me that they enjoyed also about working with their charitable groups and being philanthropic. Value creation. Donors are interested in not only sustaining their communities, but enhancing their communities, and also beyond the borders of their communities. So we can think of that on a Canadian context. Also, under value creation, donors said they want to change the world. And I don't think of that as just a lofty concept. I think that's something that probably resonates deeply with each and every one of you. You want to change the world in the way that you can, and starting right at home within your own community. Donors told me they didn't want to just support the status quo. They really wanted to make a meaningful change and take things from 0 to 60. I call it the Babe Ruth. They wanted to point out there and say, that's where I want to go. That's the marked change I want to make with my dollars in my community. They also said they wanted to leverage existing capacity. They don't want charitable organizations to waste the funds that are given to them and that are entrusted to them. They want us to leverage with what others are doing. Be smart with that investment and make it count. Look at that ripple effect that can happen if we partner with others, like the United Way does with so many agencies. So I hope when you think about these markers that were findings through my own research, that you find that they're right on, because that means I did great research. Kidding aside, I hope that it resonates with you, because to me, these are some of the fundamental values that we share, not only as donors and those who are committed to our communities, but I believe also that these are rooted deeply in our values as Canadians. And so the donors I know love people, and they love their communities, and they feel lucky, and they want to give back. But they are also smart, as I mentioned, and they pick and choose, and they want that return on investment, or that ROI. So in other words, as mentioned, nobody wants to waste their money. So I'm pleased to tell you that United Ways are focused in on what we call community impact investing. And that's investing in your community where we can see a marked change, a measurable change, and that we can evaluate that. We can give you, in other words, a very deep return on your investment. And I'll be speaking a little bit more to this later on this evening in the AGM. So this brings me to my final point. What you do matters. It matters to me because I'm a proud Canadian, and I live in the world's best country, I think. And I've traveled far and wide around the world, and I know firsthand that in Canada we have it really, really good and relatively cheap. Those might not be the best words to use, but we have it good, and it comes fairly cheap comparatively speaking. But as a business person, I also don't think that that's necessarily sustainable, to have it this good a standard of living as Canadians, and for it to come that cheap. So I know that we need to continue to invest in that standard of living. And we choose to do it through our taxes, and we choose to do it privately. And we can have a lot of debates and conversations around that, but that's not the point. The bottom line is that for us to sustain and enhance our privileged Canadian life, our safe, our caring, our outstanding Canada that we know, we understand that we need to continue to invest. Our taxes as they stand now don't cut it. People still live in poverty. We know that. People are still marginalized, and our systems aren't perfect, and our children deserve better. And frankly, we all deserve better. And so what you do as donors helps to change this, and helps to dig deeply to change the world. So your work with us in building communities, in helping people to thrive from poverty to possibility, and you also help to invest in our future, and that's through the future of our children. Your financial contribution to the United Way makes it possible for families to function better, for neighborhoods to succeed, and for children, most importantly, to know that they belong and that they matter, and that is crucial to their development. And happy, well-adjusted kids from strong families in resilient neighborhoods are kids who will thrive. And kids who thrive turn into adults who are responsible and happy and contributing citizens and they contribute to a higher quality of life. And those kids will help us all in our retirement, so that's good news. Because after all, they are us down the road. They are our future, and so what we are doing now is critical to everyone's well-being. So, our time is coming to a close at this reception. I know I won't take much longer. If you're wanting to stay on, you can listen to me again at the AGM. Let me close my remarks by saying thank you. To me, you are a beacon of hope. You dig deep and you give. And you give because you care. And you care because it matters. And the United Way, again, takes your donation and your investment very seriously. And we're investing your dollars in our communities so that we can create better lives for everyone. And I'll be highlighting a little bit more about that during our next event. So, for the time being, allow me to personally assure you, we spend your money wisely, we take it very seriously, we will continue to communicate that back to you, and we are changing lives for the better. And let me restate that, you are changing lives for the better. So thank you, and keep it up. We have more work to do.